Imagine being abandoned in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness while on a cruise. Well, this is what happened to an Oklahoma family of 9 that was left stranded in a remote part of Alaska after their Norwegian cruise line ship left them behind, and they were each charged $9,000 for not making it back on the ship in customs fees, apparently. This is just a crazy story. 9 in this family. I mean, they're more courageous than I am. I got a 3-year-old. I've been out to eat exactly 3 times in the past 3 years. It was 6 children, the parents, and an elderly grandma that was 78 years old. Okay, so during this cruise, they have certain stops and certain activities that are planned. The specific stop was out in the middle of nowhere, and you took this off-road bus to make it up to this lumberjack show. Doesn't sound very exciting, but maybe it's a kid thing. I don't know. So anyway, they decide to take everybody and go to see this lumberjack show at one of the stops. So they go see the show. They have a good time. At the end of the show, they got to wrangle all these kids together to get back on the bus. When you're a family of 9, it may take you a minute to do it, okay? So they wrangle everybody together. They make it to the bus, and guess what? The bus is full. The guy that's the driver doesn't check to see who has tickets to get back on the ship. So they just assume that everybody that's on there is going to the ship, and so they tell the other people, well, you guys are going to have to wait. I'll be back and pick you up later. So anyway, he leaves. Well, guess what? Some of the people that were on that bus weren't going back to the Norwegian cruise, right? He goes back, dumps the people, eventually makes his way back, picks them up, brings them back to this little port. The ship is gone. So it wasn't even their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. This was all on the cruise ship. Well, they had their money, their wallets, their documents, passports, IDs, and medication for the 78-year-old grandma all on the ship. All on the ship, so they're basically left stranded with nothing, not even $20. And it's a family of 6 with 6 children, some of which are toddlers. Making it back turned into a terrifying adventure of a lifetime that included sleeping in a tent in the freezing cold and hiring a private seaplane to come pick you up to then fly you into more populated areas. A lot of these remote areas in Alaska, I don't know if you've ever seen these shows, they got these little monoplanes that land on lakes and stuff in the middle of nowhere. And that's what they had to do. They flew back in, eventually making their way back to Juneau, which has an airport. They had to wait like a week before they could even book their plane tickets, and then finally made their way back to Oklahoma. If you can imagine the added expense, we're talking about tens of thousands and thousands of dollars. Because guess what? A trip in Alaska on a cruise line for 9 people is a pretty penny. Now add to that $9,000 a piece in custom fees, plus all the extra money of hiring these seaplanes to take everybody back, and God knows what else. Madonna. Anyway, these poor guys, they're never taking a cruise again. Now, you may be surprised by this, but each year dozens of people are abandoned by cruise ships, and many of them are unalived or have accidents. There was a lady in Africa that was doing a African cruise or whatever. I don't know why you do something like that, but orale. Anyway, the lady was late meeting back to the ship because she actually took a third-party little excursion, so it wasn't organized by the ship. But anyway, she missed it. The boat left, and guess what? She was never heard from again. She disappeared. This happens often also in these Caribbean countries, these basically third world countries that people stop. I don't know if you've ever been. Bahamas may look good in pictures, but you actually towns. I mean, so put it, disgraziati are living there, man. It's no place you want to get stranded. God only knows if you're a poor woman by yourself or a couple of young women. Mannaggia l'America. Okay. Don't take these cruises, ragazzi. It's terrifying to end up somewhere, especially if it's international. You got to make it to an embassy. But some of these places, they don't have embassies, and you got no money to pay for your way back. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. That's why I never do something like that, especially with kids. What do you guys think?